Okay, let me just sort myself out. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Cool. Where did we leave it, Robert? Where did we get to? I'm back at home now. I'm in the warm, so that's a good thing.
First thing was, I found it incredibly difficult talking to you and understanding you. Did you find somebody else to? You said you would speak to me together with somebody else.
I said I'd take that under advisement.
I can't understand you. Say that again.
I am at home on my own at the moment, so it's just me, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. Okay. I've got my Bible. Yeah. Okay. Right. Fire away. I'm very curious to know what is your claims, your belief about who Jesus Christ is. Thank you.
So, it's our belief, based on what we understand from the scriptures, that Christ Jesus is God's Son and a separate individual to God the Father.
Okay. Everyone would say that Jesus is God's Son. Numerous verses call him the Son of God. He's called the Son of the Father in 2 John 3. So everyone, Catholic, Baptist, Pentecostal, Mormon, Unitarian, Iglesia Ni Christu, everyone would say Jesus is the Son of God. It's a case, what do you mean by that, you see? What do you mean by that phrase? You have to explain what you mean by that phrase. The second thing, I would see the Father and the Son as being distinct, which means you can distinguish between them. I would not agree with the claim that the Father and the Son are separate. Okay, I'll fire away. I'll listen. Yeah.
So I think when we spoke previously, I quoted Colossians chapter 1 and verse 15.
Yeah.
And 16 actually, which talks about him being the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. And in the Christian Greek scriptures, there's 8 occurrences of the Greek term firstborn, prototokos, which, generally refers to, the scriptural meaning of the term firstborn generally refers to a child that was born first in order. But it's also used to put somebody in a place in time as well. So, for example, I won't go too deep into that because I know you wanted to sort of come back with a response, so I'll leave that there. That's one of the scriptures we would use to show that Christ Jesus was created first.
Prototokos does not mean created. In this sense, it's used in the case of he's preeminent.
Yes.
Colossians 1:15, I'm reading from the New King James Version. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Now, he's over the creation because he's the creator, which is what the next 2 verses say. I think it's fairly obvious. He's over the creation. He's the preeminent one over the creation because he is the creator. Verse 16 and 17, if I could just read it briefly. For by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him. And verse 17, and he is before all things, and in him all things consist. So Paul uses every permutation of the Greek language to say that Christ is the creator. And because he is the creator, that's why he is firstborn, prototokos, preeminent in this context, over the creation that he made himself.
Would you say there is strong basis to the assertion that the term firstborn there at Colossians actually means preeminent rather than its usual meaning of the one who came first?
That's what every Greek scholar says.
Okay.
So
the other verse,
I think almost every Greek scholar in church history has said that for
okay.
2,000 years. Why should I'm not a Greek scholar. I'm not an authority. I don't even speak the Greek language. I can read a few words in Greek. I don't think that makes me an expert in Greek, but I do try to learn from people a lot cleverer than me. And they say that here at Colossians, firstborn, prototokos, means preeminent. Protokiskos means first created, and that's never applied to Christ.
What about the verse at Revelation 3?
Let's deal with Colossians. Let's deal with Colossians, see it through to the bitter end, then we go to another verse.
Right.
Let's not jump every 2 minutes onto a new verse and then we go in a big circle back to Colossians again. In verse 16, the word other is not in the Greek text. I know your New World Translation says, for by him all other things were created, as if Christ was a created thing. The word other is not in the Greek text. You've alluded to the king.
Which Greek text?
All of them. If you look at your Kingdom Interlinear Translation, published by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, you will see that in the Kingdom Interlinear Translation, your Greek text does not have the word other in it. It's an insertion into the text.
Out of interest, Robert, which Greek text are you familiar with?
Well, there's three of them. There's the Nestle's Greek text, which is the standard one used today. There is the Textus Receptus, which underlines the King James Bible, which isn't necessarily as accurate in all places as the Nestle's text. And then there's a very dated text, which is the text used in the Kingdom Interlinear Translation, published by the Watchtower, and that's the Horton Westcott text, which is probably in terms of reliability, it's probably somewhere. In terms of reliability, it's probably like the King James, a little bit unreliable in places. But the Greek text does not have the word other in it. Alos, other. It does not have the word other in it at Colossians 1:16 and 17, which has been put into the New World Translation 4 times there.
So the Westcott and Hall text, I just want to, I know we're talking about Colossians 1:15, but I really think it's important to make sure to use a modern, to use a slightly punny expression, singing from the same hymn sheet. The Westcott and Hall, you said it's not reliable, or it's as reliable as the Textus Receptus. But Westcott and Hall based their translation on the three oldest known codexes, didn't they?
A lot of the codexes, the first text to be produced was Erasmus's text in, I think it was about the 1520, just before the 1520s. And he produced, I think, 5 editions, I think it was, or several editions of the Greek text.
No, it's not based on Erasmus.
Could I know it's not based on Erasmus. Could you allow me to make
Robert.
I know it's not based on it. You asked me a question. Would you allow me to answer the question?
Stop. Sorry. At any point in our conversation, I haven't got frustrated or wound up or raised my voice, and I don't understand why you're doing that.
Doing what?
Raising your voice, getting irate and frustrated, and no, the tone of your voice. I don't understand why you're getting like that.
Can we just deal with your question?
Because that's not a Christian way to act, is it really?
You're a tone policeman. You're policing my tone. You've never met me. Why can't we just deal with the actual issue at hand and forget about...
I would like to be treated the way I would treat somebody else, following the golden rule of Christ Jesus. That is all. Every human has the basic right to be treated with dignity and respect. And I'll treat you with dignity and respect. And Robert, definitely will. I promise you that.
And I'll do the same to you. And I'll do the same to you. How about that?
Great.
Right.
Reach an understanding.
You asked me a question about the Greek text. From my understanding, and I'm not a Greek scholar, I don't have a PhD, but as an ordinary person, the first Greek text reproduced was Erasmus's 4 or 5 editions just before or around the time of 1520, about the time of Martin Luther.
Right. So I would like to know about it.
Could I give you my answer, please? You asked me a question. Could I give you my answer? You asked me a question about the Horton Westcott text. So can I get to that, please?
Yes. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Okay. The Textus Receptus was in some way, and I'm not a Greek expert, but in some way it was based on a sort of more advanced version of the Erasmus text, because you must understand that at that time they didn't have access to most of the Greek manuscripts that we have today. They were very limited in the Greek manuscripts that they could use. Now, in the Victorian times, Horton Westcott came around, and by that time they did have access to certain documents which weren't available for the King James text, and they produced an improved text, right, slightly different in places because of the availability of more older manuscripts, and you should always try and go from the older manuscripts unless there is a corruption in those older manuscripts. And then I believe that the Nestle's text, and I think we're up to either the 28th or the 29th edition of the Nestle's text. The Nestle's text will be a development on quite more advanced than Horton Westcott, where far more documents are available. That's thank you for allowing me to say that. That would be my understanding of it.
So you've taught me something today, because I'd never come across the Nestle. So is this the Nestle Allen Greek text you're referring to?
Yeah, this is.
I've just done a quick Google.
Yeah, this is the one used by 99% of all Greek scholars.
So which early manuscripts is that based on?
All of them.
No, but have you got a link or a website I can look at to? I'm keenly interested.
No, I don't have any website at all. As I say, I'm just an amateur person. But there are four, if I remember, ancient complete Bibles. Textus Receptus, they're called the four great unicals. Unicals means capitals, because the ancient Bibles, the ancient New Testaments were written in capitals. Yeah. Because paper, well, they didn't have paper, they had papyrus. It was so expensive. Yeah, you'd write in capitals and you wouldn't have spaces between the letters, which sounds stupid to me. I am dyslexic. I'd find that impossible to read.
Yeah. My daughter's dyslexic, I understand.
But they did that. So there's Vaticanus in the Vatican Library, Sinaiticus, Alexandrius, and then Codex. I can't pronounce this one. Codex Epireami Recepticus.
Right. Okay. I've seen the Sinaiticus. I've been to see the Sinaiticus and the Alexandrinus as well. I've actually had a little look at those original copies.
Where are they?
They're in the British Library.
Both of them. Okay.
Yes.
I thought they were. I wasn't too sure.
Sinaiticus isn't complete, I believe. I think some of the leaves are elsewhere, potentially in St. Petersburg, but for sure there's a huge proportion of it in the British Library. If you're down south and you're near London, I would recommend a little trip. It's a great little. It's quite moving really to be in the presence of. I mean, those texts date back from what the late 400s, don't they? You know, they're very, very old.
Yes.
Yeah. So Nestle Allen, I'll do some reading about that one. Robert, that's a new one to me. I've not come across that before. What I would say about the Westcott and Hort, I've read a number of comments from secular scholars who still highly rate the Westcott and Hort or the choices Westcott and Hort made in rendering sort of the Greek in English. I think in some scholarly circles it's still regarded as a very reputable source of the Greek text. That's just what I've read.
Well, yes, it is, because in certain circumstances it was an improvement over the King James Bible. There were some errors in the King James Bible, and even in the text of the Greek, which in Textus Receptus, which underlaid the King James Bible, and Horton Westcott cleared that up. But it's like comparing an E-type. The Textus Receptus is like the Model T Ford, right? Horton Westcott was in the Victorian days. That's like an E-Type Jag. An E-Type Jag is going to be a lot faster than a Model T Ford. If you put those two together, people will say, wow, it's incredible. Look how far it does 160 miles an hour. Incredible, this E-Type Jag. But today we've got the Bugatti Veyron and several other cars which can tip just about 300 miles an hour with a specialist team of engineers. So it's almost double the speed of the E-Type Jag. So the E-Type Jag is a great improvement over the Model T Ford, but the Bugatti Veyron's a lot faster than the E-Type Jag.
You know what?
And it's the same with the Greek text. The Greek text is more accurate in the Nestle's text than it is in the Horton Westcott.
I'll tell you what, if I had the choice, I'd definitely own an E-Type Jag over a Bugatti. I'll tell you that right now. Sorry, that's just me being a bit flippant. We can still have a friendly banter, right? We can have a joke.
My brother bought an E-Type Jag about 30 years ago and took it to.
Really?
I come from Foy in Cornwall, and he took it to Foy in Cornwall.
Yeah, lovely.
He bought it as an investment, and it was frightening to be in it. He wasn't going fast, obviously, but there's no roll bar on the E-Type Jag. So if you hit a Cornish hedge, which are very high, and tip the car over, we would both be decapitated, especially as we have to wear seat belts. And he was also ripped off because it actually was two E-Type Jags, which had both been in accidents and were welded together. And there's something wrong with it when it went around the corner. And I didn't feel at all comfortable in it at all. But anyway, that's just a little story.
I always wanted a Triumph Spitfire, if I'm honest with you. That was when I was a young man, and I've owned a few Beetles over the years, classic Beetles. But I've always liked the Triumph Spitfire in particular. Something about the British engineering. The Volkswagen is a very compact car. You know, the engine's very compact. The Germans in their engineering is very space conscious, whereas the British cars in the engine bay, you had so much more room to work, and it was just a different design philosophy. Sorry, we digress, but I want to try and fit.
Can I give you one example of one of the corrections that Horton Westcott made?
Yeah.
Over the Textus Receptus text at 1 Timothy 3:16, and the King James Bible says, and without controversy, great is the mystery of God or godliness. I'm actually reading the New King James, and then it says God was manifested in the flesh. Now that is actually incorrect. The proper rendering is he appeared in a body. Now, I believe Jesus is God. I believe God was manifest in the flesh. I'm not denying the incarnation. I'm not denying Christ's deity. I believe in it. But here at 1 Timothy 3:16, the King James and the Textus Receptus is incorrect. Because in about 800, we have a new stream of documents that change the letter O, Omicron, or the letter O, to a theta, which is an O with a line through the middle of it. Now, they didn't use paper, they used papyrus, which would be leaves, and it would have veins in it. So possibly it was an older scholar with poor eyesight, rather like me, and he looked at the Omicron, and possibly there was a vein from the papyrus running through the middle of it. And so only from 800 AD onwards do we have a line of manuscripts which say God was manifested in the flesh. And it's the mistake is one single letter. All of the documents before 800 read he appeared in a body. So I'm not denying the deity of Christ. I'm not denying Christ's incarnation. I believe that God was manifest in the flesh. But that's an example that the King James, unfortunately, and my New King James Bible that I'm reading from here, is incorrect at that verse. Horton Westcott corrected that. And there would be more textual evidence to back that up in the Nestle's text. And I would say over 99%, 80, of all biblical scholars use the Nestle's text, unless there's.
The Nestle's text. Which modern Bibles could I purchase that based on that text?
All of them, more or less, except for the King James and the New King James. And the New World Translation, which is based on the Horton Westcott text.
Yeah, obviously we use the New World Translation. We've got in our app. You might not have seen it. Our JW Library app.
Yeah.
We've got King James, Kingdom Interlinear, King James.
Yeah.
The Rotherham version, the American tradition. But I'll be interested to know that. I'll do a bit of digging, Robert. I'll see if I can get hold of a copy of the Bible that's based on the
text. Most of them are New American Standard Version, NIV, ESV. They're all based on the Nestle's text.
I work with quite a few Christadelphians, which is interesting because I'm the only Jehovah's Witness at my place of work.
Yes.
But there are 5 Christadelphians, and I always find it really strange in that there's 50,000 Christadelphians, there's 9 million Jehovah's Witnesses, and yet they outnumber me 5 to 1. I never quite understood that. It's a bit ironic.
Right.
But I think one of the directors of the company I work for is a Christadelphian, so it's obviously he sort of had more of his friends and sort of congregation members join. But I mean they I don't know why I'm mentioning this out of a more passing interest in tidbit than anything else. Is they don't like the NIV. I don't know why. They just don't read from it.
I have spoken to Christadelphians in the past, and I had quite a lot of Christadelphian literature, and in the end, I just threw it all away. I had Elpis Israel, which is quite a rare Christadelphian book, but
okay. They like the emphatic dialogues, which I've got a copy of actually somewhere. It's Benjamin. What's his name?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Have we finished then with Colossians 1?
Well, I think what I would suggest is our view, as in Jehovah's Witnesses, is that verse refers to Jesus Christ as the firstborn of all creation, in that he was the first person created by God, Yahweh.
First created being or first created person is protokiskos. That's not used anywhere of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. A different word is used at Colossians 1:15, prototokos, which means firstborn, which means preeminent. Let me just give you an example of preeminent. You're aware the Old Testament's translated into Greek, the Septuagint. Yeah. So if you go to the Septuagint, you'll find that David is prototokos, preeminent, at Psalm 89:27.
Yeah.
But David is the youngest son of Jesse. 1 Samuel 17:14. So how can, if you're going to take firstborn every time to mean literally the first that is born, the first to come out of the womb, how can the youngest son of Jesse be the first to be born out of all the sons? It means preeminent, obviously, because Christ was to come through David, who was going to be the king, not David's brothers, you see.
Yeah, I think the Septuagint uses prototokos at Genesis 49:3 as well, doesn't it? Referring to Reuben, but he was the literal firstborn. He was the first son of Jacob. But he uses the same Greek word there.
Yes, because in that context, he is the context there would be the first out of the womb. But with Ephraim and Manasseh, both of them are called firstborn. Now they couldn't both be first out of the womb at the same time.
So in the New World Translation, there's a cross-reference to Colossians 1:15. For that expression, the firstborn of all creation, and the cross-reference in Revelation 3:14.
I am happy to go to Revelation 3:14. Can we just deal with firstborn first? Are you aware that both Ephraim and Manasseh are both called firstborn?
I hadn't come across that, but I can have a look.
Yeah, Manasseh's firstborn at Genesis 41:51 because he was the first to come out of the womb. But he sinned, and he lost his birthright due to his sin, which is why in Jeremiah 31:9 his brother Ephraim is firstborn.
Yeah, okay.
So obviously the context there, and I'm dealing with the Septuagint rendering of prototokos, firstborn. Obviously in that context it means preeminent. I mean, if you're going to take firstborn literally, then Jesus wasn't the first to be born, was he?
In a human sense, you mean? Or?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, didn't Adam and Eve have children?
Yeah. No. That's a fair comment. So I mean, if you're happy to look at the cross reference in Revelation 3:14, that sheds dynamic on it.
Please, let's go slow. I'm happy to go there next. Let's deal with one thing at a time, because firstborn is not used in Revelation 3:14. That's a different argument. So I'm happy to go there. Cain and Abel were born before Jesus. So how could Jesus be the firstborn?
Well, the verse at Colossians 1 says, firstborn of all creation. So it's not, there's the context. We're not talking about, Adam, Cain and Abel, or Manasseh and Ephraim. Paul gives the
So it's
context
firstborn in relation to the creation.
So what's your understanding of that statement, the firstborn of all creation?
Well, he is the firstborn in relation to the creation.
What does that mean?
What it means is, you just read the next two verses, which shows you that Jesus Christ is the... Could I...
All of the things
Could I...
in the heavens and on the earth, the things visible and the things invisible, whether they are thrones or lordships or governments or authorities, all of the things have been created through him and for him.
No. The word other is not in the Greek text. If you look at the Kingdom Interlinear translation, which is on the Horton Westcott text, the word other, allos, is not in the Greek text. It's not in the King James Textus Receptus Greek text, and it's not in the Nestle's text either. So he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For by him all things were created. By him is en auto. And then it goes on in verse 16.
I'm just going to check. So while you're looking at that, I'm just going to check the Sinaiticus online translation, because I'm going to just check the Greek in the Sinaiticus, because they've digitized it, and it's quite useful, because what you can do is you can actually go to that verse and read it.
Where do you go to see this? You can go
to codexsinaiticus.org.
Pardon?
And when you're there, you can just browse your Bible book, and actually it looks like it's there. Yeah, I think it's...
where do I go? Just tell me slowly.
Yeah, no, literally, it's Codex Sinaiticus, so Codex...
Is that one word? Just go slowly.
Yeah, Codex Sinaiticus, one word. So S-I-N...
You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me. Slow down. CODEX. Okay, what do I type next? Because I'm dyslexic. I cannot spell for the...
That's fine.
Yeah.
S-I...
Yeah.
N-A...
Ah, it's come up. Codex Sinaiticus. .org. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. I've learned something. That's wonderful. Thank you.
That's all right.
So I think it's saying that Christ being firstborn is related to the creation which he created.
Yeah. Shall I read it from the Sinaiticus word-to-word translation?
Yeah.
It says, from verse 15, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For in him were all things created that are in the heavens and that are visible and invisible, whether thrones or lordships or principalities or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and all things in him consist. That's verse 17.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
So, my reading of those two, that was verse 15, 16 and 17. My reading of that, particularly verse 16, from my reading, that's in harmony with what's presented in the New World Translation.
Well, it simply says that for by him all things were created, that's en auto. All things were created through him, di auto.
It says for in him were all things created that are in the heavens and that are on the earth.
Well, yeah, translations differ whether it's by him or in him, but the Greek is en auto, by him or in him, through him di auto, and for him eis auton. So Paul uses every form of the Greek language to say that Christ is the creator. That's the point Paul's making. And
say
then
that Greek again. Sorry, say that Greek again, please, Robert. What's the Greek word?
It's in verse 16. It's by him en auto.
And so in the Greek that I can see here in the Sinaiticus,
right,
it's OTI, I guess, OTI, and then I'm not familiar with the Greek alphabet. I Crash Course in Greek. Gotta love it, right?
Well, no, I'm not a Greek person, but I
tend to favour the Sinaiticus and Vaticanus just because they predate. They are the oldest known complete manuscripts. You know, there are fragmentary manuscripts that we found. You know, I don't know if you've ever been to the Chester Beatty Library. That's just a phenomenal experience in Dublin. I've been there once before, and it's goosebumps territory, Robert, because you read the papyrus fragments particularly from the John's writings, and some of these fragments date from 150 AD or 150 CE. So they were likely copied from John's original work. Do you know what I mean? Because John wrote his Gospel and his letters and the Book of Revelation, you know, towards the end of the first century, so 98 CE onwards on the Isle of Patmos. So you've got these, and to see them sort of almost word for word what I've got in my Bible in my hand, it's just phenomenal. You know, it goes back to that principle, isn't it, in 2 Timothy 3, 15 and 16, about the Bible being God's inspired word. You know, we trust that God has preserved His word for us as that, you know, guide and source of comfort and wisdom. You know. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
I'm now at Codex Sinaiticus, Colossians 1:16. The translation says, "For in Him were all things created." Looking at my New King James, "For by Him all things were created." So in or by is the same thing, and I believe it's en auton.
Is it the same thing though?
Pardon?
Is it the same thing?
It's a mere translation. What's important is what does the Greek say, and the Greek says en auto. I'm now looking at the Greek of Sinaiticus, and it's en auto, and that's translated on the website as "For in Him all things were created." In the New King James, it's "For by Him all things were created." It's more or less the same, but it's en auto.
It's not though, is it? Because this is.
Well, I don't wish to quibble. I don't wish to quibble.
No, it's an important point though, because you see, on not just on this verse, I'm sure, but like, you know, the discussion, the discussion really, the topic of our discussion today is, you know, who is Christ Jesus?
All right. Okay. All right. In Him. All right. So it says in Colossians 1:16, in Him, en auto. Then it's all things were created. Then it says through Him, Christ, di auto. All things were created, and then for Him, eis auton, all things were created. So Paul uses every form of the Greek language to say that Christ is the creator, and he continues to say that in verse 17. Every possible permutation of the Greek language, that Christ is the creator. So Christ being firstborn is relative to the creation, not to a physical birth. It can't be, because Christ is not the first one who was born.
It's our belief that you know, Yahweh, Jehovah. You know what we call Jehovah's Witnesses from short. You know, we use the English translation Jehovah. We know it's not perfect, but it's the best we've got, I guess, for the divine name. You know, and it's our belief that Jehovah directly created the spirit, the mighty spirit angelic creature that became known as Jesus Christ. You know, the archangel Michael revelation refers to him as. You know, and then we understand that, particularly in Colossians, that Christ then went on to use Jehovah's creative power to create the rest of the physical universe. So, you know, we believe that Jesus Christ was instrumental in the act of creation, and that working through Christ Jesus, Jehovah God created everything else, including the angels and then the physical universe, and then, you know, everything else that comes through it. So Jesus was certainly involved in the creative period, but we were trying to establish that they are separate beings, not, you know, we don't believe that Jesus Christ is God. He is a divine being who works alongside his Father, Jehovah.
I can only respond to one thing at a time. You're making multiple points, but you're not giving any proof or evidence for any of what you're saying. You're just making statements. If somebody comes up to you and says, Allahu Akbar, Muhammad is a prophet, the Quran is the word of God, you must pray 5 times a day, it doesn't mean anything unless they can prove it.
No, just say you're talking nonsense, mate.
Yeah. Okay, have we finished with Colossians?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go to Revelation.
Okay, yeah, sure. Right. Okay, sir. Right. Revelation 3, wasn't it?